For the second time in 8 months, agricultural giant ADM is proposing a massive expansion in the border city. Today, the company announced plans to build a 265 million litre biodiesel plant in Lloydminster. The new plant will be adjacent to the existing canola plant that is currently under renovations to double its capacity. The new facility will increase ADM's North American biodiesel production by 50%. The government of Alberta has committed about $10 million to the project through its bioenergy producer programs. Construction will start next spring and will be completed by the end of 2013. It's putting pencil to paper in a whole new way. The Bar Colony Heritage Cultural Centre is showcasing a blind contour exhibit. For those unfamiliar with the genre, Lauren Pullen explains how artists create their masterpieces without their primary sense, vision.
It may be a foreign concept to some, artists creating their work without ever looking at the canvas. It's called blind contour.
A very different concept, very contemporary.
It's all about hand-eye communication.
It focuses on contour drawing, which is, of course, drawing without looking at your paper. You're just drawing your subject without looking at your paper.
The touring exhibit is currently on display at the Bar Colony Centre with work from 2 Saskatchewan-based artists.
Sarah's art reflects her time with her dog in the last days of his life. So she would just sit and draw her dog as she slept. And Brandon watched Wayne Gretzky's last hockey game following the puck with his grease pencil on the paper without looking at his paper.
And though some are skeptics, Sarah says overall reception has been great.
Good. I think a lot of people don't understand the idea of not looking at your paper. It's a different, for sure, it's definitely a different concept. But so far I think it's been received well.
If you want to check out Blind Contour firsthand, the exhibit is open to the public until November 24th. Lauren Pullen, Newcap News.
Well, there's nothing worse than overcooking a pot roast, especially when company is coming. On this week's edition of Fresh Favorites, Whitney Stinson puzzles out how each cut of roast beef should be served in order to maximize its flavor.
Hello and welcome to this edition of Fresh Favorites. With me here is Chef Corinne. Corinne, we're talking about roast beef this week, another great entertaining meal. How do you pick a cut of roast beef?
Well, if you're wanting to roast beef, like to serve a sliced roast beef for dinner, then you want to pick a more tender cut. So something like a rib roast or a sirloin tip is really nice for that. If you want that really juicy, falling apart kind of flavor, the pot roast idea, then you want to go with something with a little bit more connective tissue, like a cross rib or a brisket or something like that.
And how would you prepare each of those cuts for the oven?
The roasting, very simple. You want to bring your roast up to room temperature, rub it with a little bit of oil, salt, pepper, garlic, rosemary, throw it in the oven, a high temperature to start, turn your oven down and let it go until it's done to your liking.
Okay.
If you're doing a braise, you really want to make sure you brown your roast in a frying pan or in your Dutch oven before you start for some good color.
Okay.
A little bit of liquid and cover it in the oven low and slow for a long time.
Now you say a long time. How long is a long time? And on the one before you said until it's done to your, your taste. So what's the difference between sort of the rare temperature, the medium temperature, and the high temperature?
Well, most people, about 160 degrees is going to be sort of medium to medium well, which for a roast is pretty good. If you're doing a braise, then obviously you want it completely cooked, so you can even go to 170 degrees or so. A thermometer is really your best friend when you're cooking a roast, because all the cuts and all the different sizes are going to cook differently.
Now, where do you put the thermometer in the roast when you're checking? This is something we debate all the time.
Well, you just want to put it into the middle of the roast.
Okay.
So just judge by how big your thermometer is. You can insert it through the top or through the side, but you want to get it into the middle.
All right.
So if it's that long, slide it in.
Awesome. Well, happy roasting, Corinne.
Thank you. You too.
This has been this week's edition of Fresh Favorites. I'm in the kitchen with Chef Corinne.
Fresh Favorites is brought to you by Harvest to Home Market, your local connection to top quality Canadian products. Visit harvesttohomemarket.ca for daily specials.